Hello there, and welcome to another episode of World of Tanks at Ungainly Titan. We're at Kazarine in the ST-1, the Soviet Tier 9 heavy tank that leads up from the KV line. So you go from the KV-4 to the ST-1 to the IS-8, which I've yet to unlock. But I'm not far away from it at this point. And we're on Kazarine Assault, and I have not done Kazarine Assault prior to this particular game. My immediate concern was the actual southeastern corner, because the enemy actually spawned quite close to it. So we can't block them at the ravine, or the wadi I suppose, more strictly speaking. This is North Africa, and I think these things are referred to as wadis. So I'm inclined to take up a defensive position here at the second wadi that branches out. And then wait to see what my team does, because I don't think we'd get past that to... There's no good defensive positions around the town. We wouldn't get to the other branch of the wadi in time. And if we go past this, there's a danger that the enemy could infiltrate up through this branch of the wadi network to come in behind us. So we have tanks here, and we have another tank heading up around the village, which I don't think is a wise move. So I'm going to come along the high ground here, and I'm aiming for this gap here because I thought I might get some decent positions to catch people coming out from the low ground at the bottom of the map. Now I got detected and I spotted people, but I didn't actually get here in time to get some effective fire on them. So for the moment I'm going to take up here at this corner. I'm not necessarily artillery safe, depending on where the artillery spawned and where it has moved to. But I'm probably safe from 2 out of the 3 spawn points. If he spawned up in the northern spawn point, there around 6A or A6, I'm probably targetable. And if he's moved anywhere along the A line to the western side of the map, I'd be targetable. However, here we are, and we're looking around to see what we can see. There's one guy who's made it, and the next thing I push forward, there's an M103 right at the back of the map and in open ground. So that shot falls a bit short, does some damage to the tracks, but I don't do any real damage to the tank. And he drops out of my view range, I think, before I get a reload in. And initially, well, yeah, I didn't spot that he'd gotten respotted, but I was looking at that tiger down there and I'm kind of concerned about his position, and I thought I'd give him some support. However, he shouldn't move around the corner. If he moves into the main body of the wadi, this is the problem with these locations, is you're pretty much isolated from the rest of your team, and once you move around a corner or something like that, you're completely isolated and you're pretty much on your own, and he's outnumbered 3-1. And I don't particularly want to go down and join him, because then we'd be just outnumbered 3-2. I'd rather stay in a position where I'd have some chance of allies being able to provide supporting fire. Or failing that, at least reasonable certainty as to the numbers that are there. Because just because I know there's 3 tanks there doesn't mean that there isn't, or there aren't more, and another one's after popping up. So the LTTB popped out there and I managed to put a solid round into him. He didn't have any allies, so despite the fact that I tracked him or knocked his engine out or something, nobody was able to follow up or capitalise on that. The M103 is still down there, but he keeps popping in and out of my view range, and that blind shot doesn't get me anywhere. So I know there's still a bunch of guys down at the junction there, so this is where I started thinking about if I drive along the top, would I get another position where I could see down into the wadi. So there's a tank destroyer heading down in my direction as well, but the thing is, by coming down my way, he's left a gap behind him, and sure enough, there's an enemy tank in that gap. Now I'm kind of concerned now, because now I have an enemy medium tank in my rear. Now admittedly, that medium tank has a lot of things that he could be shooting at besides me. And he seems to be going north and probably more to the west. So a T-28 prototype's coming down, but I misjudged the rate of descent on the hill, and that shot flies over the back of his tank. We're a tank down at the moment, and there are a lot of tanks building up to the east of my position, and I'm not particularly happy about it, because they are the ones dictating the base of the battle there. It's just me as that tank destroyer beside me, and there's another one tank destroyer way off on the southern side of the map. And we're pretty isolated from each other, and therefore not really in a position to render mutual support, but I think they're going to go for the tank destroyer at the southern end of the map and try and outflank our entire position, so I'm heading back down to where I was. Now we're 2 tanks down, and we're penetrated through and through. We have a tank possibly going to break out on the north western side of the map. We have one cleared through on the centre, and we have, looks like 4 tanks going to try and get around the southern side of the map there. So I managed to take out the Panther. He having taken quite a bit of damage from our tank destroyer before he expired, and there's a IS-3 over there who shows me the side of the tank, so I get a nice solid hit through the tracks of his tank, and then I have a KV-3 coming around the corner hard at me. At least that's how it looked initially. Now I can't get a decent shot on the IS, and the KV-3 is now joined by an M103. But the M103 is showing me the lower plates, so I've managed to knock him down to a remnant of his hit points, and the KV-3 just goes for it. Fortunately for me, he's paying so much attention to me that he does not pay enough attention to the walls of the wadi, and he gets tangled up there, so I am managed to stay in front of him for the moment. I get the reload off, get a hit into him. Now the M103 is down on top of me, they're both down on top of me, and then we turn sideways, and I'm ammo wrecked. So I managed to get the ammo up and running. The M103 decides he needs to pay attention to the tank destroyers coming around the corner rather than me, and I finish him off. And then one of those tank destroyers finishes off the KV-3. That situation had escalated sharply, however we managed to contain the situation, and now we're the one with tanks up. There's only 3 remaining enemy tanks, and they're probably not down on this end of the map, and the enemy have killed 7 out of our 15 tanks. So that's just a question of finding the remaining enemy tanks, and I think we've accounted for all the tanks down at this end of the map. Except maybe there might be 1 or 2 in the wadi ahead of us, but certainly the ones that had crossed over and were making the attempt to punch through at the southern side of the map, they have been taken out, and a couple of tank destroyers here working the wadi. So I decided to come back up. There's an enemy tank destroyer identified in the heavy tank, both of them to the north of my position, one of them on practically the centre of the map, and the other one not actually far from one of his own spawn areas. So I come back up, and I'm going to take the low ground here. I think there's a tank up on the high ground. There's a tank destroyer in the middle of the map, and artillery still in play, like so. As long as we can keep this guy spotted, we can probably take care of him. The heavy tank could be more of a problem, and the artillery hasn't been seen, to the best of my knowledge. So this is the right wadi to come up. This is where the enemy tank destroyer is making his stand, and as I come around the corner I see there's a T-28 prototype, very heavily armoured vehicle with very, very powerful frontal armour. So we've taken him out, and now there's only 2 enemy tanks remaining. However, this is an assault mode game, and we're on the defensive side. So we've won the game. It doesn't matter whether the 2 enemy tanks are found or not. It matters in the sense that it would be worth some extra hit points to whomever catches them, but it's not actually going to cost us the game as long as they don't get a sneaky cap in the next few seconds, because they are very rapidly, of course, running out of time or time enough to cap, like, so it takes whatever number of minutes it takes. to cap out something like, and anyway, they're not going to do it. Not with 23 seconds left, even with 2 tanks, they both get them into the cap circle. So we've identified where the artillery is. We just don't happen to have anybody in a position to deal with him, and we've now also identified where the heavy tank is. So I think it's going to be simple enough to deal with these tanks. They don't have the resources to fight us because we're coming at them more or less simultaneously rather than one at a time. So how do we do? Well, we got our Fire Perfect second class mastery for MOE 3,472 points of damage, blocked about 3,000 over 3,000 points of damage. Came number 1 by experience. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching, and we'll catch you again soon.